to talk about Operation Zero from start to finish, like not start to where we're present. Um, it started off as Operation Zero. It's now transitioned into Operation 2.0, but it's still the same heart, it's the same passion, just a different style. So, Jeremy, if you want to go over
Yeah,
where you started, who kind of helped.
yeah. So I remember it like it was yesterday. I was actually, and it's no miraculous story. Like I said in the last segment, it's no miraculous story like somebody that I was very, very close to was touched by cancer, and I felt moved to get involved. And I do wish it was that romantic, but I was literally laying in bed scrolling Facebook, and I saw a post about somebody who was deliberating end of life, uh, writing their will and deliberating whether to invest in their cancer treatment or leave a larger nest egg for their children. And it was just this really, really heavy wave of realization that came over me that cancer is not just terminal a lot of times a terminal diagnosis for your physical health, but for your financial well-being as well. And and man, what a one-two punch to deal with when you already realize that your time with your loved ones is going to be cut short, and you realize then that the only way to extend that time is to cut short their financial inheritance, and perhaps saddle them with extra debt or funeral costs or whatever's associated with looking at end of life. And uh and man, with all of the, and I know that you know what I'm talking about, with all of the psychological repercussions that comes with a cancer diagnosis, I mean, like, this is just too much. And it just, at that point, it really was like we were in a position at Paragon where we could, do anything, something, just to let people know that somebody realized what was happening with them, and was willing to just show that they care. And it started off very, very small. We had some material that was owned by us, that was in production for our FECO line. FECO was very, very under the radar in Oklahoma at that point in time. There was not a ton of people who were buying it commercially, and so we weren't supporting our business off of that product line, and we just said, "Hey, what if we just gave this away?" And so that started the mission of Operation Zero right there. And we didn't file not-for-profit corporation yet. We didn't do any of the logistical things that you're supposed to do whenever you're starting something like this. What we did was we created a new label, slapped it on there, and put a 1 cent sign on the label, and got it out to market to a few of our partner dispensaries. um, Boom, within a week or two, we had growers reaching out to us. Hey, how can we get involved in this? I see that you guys are doing this. This is amazing. I had dispensaries reaching out. Hey, this is making such a big difference for our cancer patients. We have this extra shake from our growers that we're not utilizing in the dispensary. Can we donate that? And so it was like a light bulb came on, that for the first time, that went, whoa, this can be bigger than just our spare products, finding a good home in the market. And so it became an actual operation, and we started taking on donations and started, and one of the people that doesn't get enough credit in this sense is Isaac Cavanis, with the Oki Express. Man, he was doing transportation and sales for my company at the time, and he took on the distribution and management of these products and assets at absolutely zero cost, in a time when he was trying to get his business off the ground as well as I was. And
And
man,
excitingly doing so too. I
yeah,
remember I remember watching him come in, and he would just be so excited every time there was an Operation Zero order to take out. Like he
Yeah,
just loved
yeah.
it.
Picking up, he would drive sometimes 4 hours one way, 4 hours the other way to pick up a donation of like a pound and a half of biomass for us to process
Yep.
for penny FECO. And
I
you
remember
know,
these spaces. I remember
just
Scott with Green Healer coming
yep.
in and with his donations and the donation
Hmm.
jar that he set out and the patients in there donated to the program, and which they're still with us.
Yeah,
They are one of our regular dispensaries that have it. I
that's
remember all
amazing.
of this. I remember watching all of it and just being amazed at what was going on.
So at some point in this journey, something really special happened, and I didn't realize the consequence of it at the time. But at some point in this journey, you and I sat down at a Starbucks and had a meal together, and just talked about kind of our mutual passion for this. And uh, you know, you had what was it RSO Mama?
Yeah, I had the
The
RSO mama.
RSO Mama, and you were journaling people's
Yes.
journeys with
Yep.
cannabis and cancer. And man, it was just like boom, 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 boom. We started clicking, and and
I
you
remember
know,
being so nervous that day. I remember like getting out, like sitting in my car and getting out, and it was like I have to go sell my idea to somebody with nothing. Like I have no money to put behind this, no nothing. And this man is either going to look at me like I'm crazy or he's going to see the passion and want to nurture it. And I'm so thankful that that's the path that you chose, was to nurture it, because you let me
hey,
as a stranger come into the lab and learn and do paperwork and
let me tell
get
you
my
something,
start.
Jamie. If you weren't crazy, this never would have worked.
Yeah, that's true.
So
That's true.
we've all got to be a little crazy to believe that we can get something like this going. And speaking of getting something like this going, we did have another moment that I had no idea the relevance or significance of, and that was when Mr. Jim Garanser called me, and him and I spoke for, it felt like 5 minutes. It was like 45 minutes, our first phone conversation. Um, and man, talk about a man of action. He was just ready to go, do whatever we needed to do to get this thing the fuel that it needed to take off. And that was really somewhere between those two conversations was where Operation Zero became Operation 2.0, and got a new breath of life breathed into it. And now that I don't know if everybody knows this, but I'm completely out of the cannabis industry. Um, my life has taken another turn, taking me in a different direction. It's taken me back to construction. Um, there was the hardest part of stepping out of the cannabis industry was knowing that I wasn't going to be able to continue this mission. And so from the bottom of my heart, I mean, just knowing that you guys are taking this in the way that you are and running with it and making an impact in people's lives, it really makes uh, the pill to swallow easier, of not being able to be involved anymore. So
Well, it's not that you can't be involved, because you know that you're not out.
no,
You're
not
not
to the
out.
not you know what I mean, not to the extent that I was.
Not to the extent that you were, but yeah. I think there's a part of you that's always going to live on with this, and that's what's really exciting about this. I think this is bigger than all of us at this point.
Mhm.
It really is. So we're hoping to see this,
It was
outlive.
always supposed to be.
Yeah,
I can't wait to see Taylor's segment with Twin Seed Extracts, man.
yeah.
He's so basically you've taken over the logistical um, corner of things. Jim's taken over the financial corner of things. Taylor's taken over the operational corner of things. Like you know, what would I even do?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like
You
we
know?
can't leave Taylor out, because
No.
Without Taylor, this would not be, he opened, so Jeremy's lab closed down. The kitchen that I was in and doing things, we shut that down. So everybody's in this point in this industry where it's really hard. And Taylor very easily could have been like, no, man, I gotta stay on my own focus. And instead he opened up his facility to keep this going, because he was part of this. He was in there making the FECO for the original Operation Zero along with Jeremy. His
Yep.
heart and soul is in this. So when there was, I remember before we met, right before we got a chance to sit down with Jim, I remember sending you a message and saying, hey, I'm really feeling like I need to take this and do something with it. And I was like, I could do it in your name, or I could do it in a different name. Like, and he's like, no, let's do it. Let's keep it Operation Zero and keep it going. And then the way that everything just hit. So then a Facebook post, guys, this is how easily it came. A Facebook post. Jim made a post asking who was doing the program in Oklahoma. And of course, I'm not on Facebook all day long. Jeremy's not on Facebook all day long. But all of you guys who know us, tagged us, both those, which made that connection with Jim. Jeremy spent, he said he spent a good time on the phone with them. I have spent an incredible amount of time on the phone with Jim and his team. Jim has created quite a team all over the United States, leading up to this FECO playbook already. And to be able to combine what we've done off on our side with what he's done, especially with the financial support that he brings to the table, and not just financial support, it's the mentorship and he's so dedicated to what he's doing that he keeps me on task. So like every Monday I get my list of, hey, these are the dreams for this week or this month. This is our vision this week. And it's amazing to have somebody who's so goal oriented and
has walked the path before with,
yes.
With early recognition is critical and FECO Playbook and, all of the organizations that he's, gotten legs under prior to this. I mean, it's really, I can't understate how important it is to have somebody that knows the road and has walked it there to show us the way. It's really awesome.
Yeah.
So now that we have a way, how do we get involved with how do we sign up for the Dollar FECO program?
Okay, so right now, if a cancer patient would like to be on the Dollar FECO program, they would go to FECOplaybook.org, just some contact information on this form. And from there, it actually goes to our team's inbox, and we send you out a profile to fill out. That just tells us where you are. That way I can figure out, which dispensary to put you with, what you're dealing with, as much information as you're willing to give. We have a licensed nutritionist involved in this program, so we do ask questions. Now we'll talk with her later today. Jennifer Hawkins, we adore her, with Hawkeye Consulting. So we do have options. As much information as you're willing to share is as much feedback as we can give you. So like I said, the FECO playbook is designed as a survey says database. So we're going to give you information off of what another cancer patient did or what worked for another cancer patient, as well as the nutritionist will provide, dietary recommendations. And once you fill out that profile, let's kind of talk about how that goes next. So once you fill out that profile, you get an email and it'll say your pickup location is, we'll use Green Hiller, for example, Green Hiller in Elk City. And your pickup code number is 10-005, whatever your pickup number is. Okay, so when you go into that dispensary, you will go in and you tell them your name and your code. And they go ahead and from there, let's do another screen share. That way they can see what the dispensaries look like. Um, and we did, okay. So this is what on the dispensary side. Okay, so when you walk into a dispensary and you're in the Operation Zero program, every dispensary has their own reservation list that looks like this now. So you'd walk in, and it's as easy as they'd click on it, pull up your name. I know Amber won't mind, so I'm going to go ahead and do Amber. So this will say how many grams were reserved and ask how many she picked up. Okay, so this is all you need. We've already stocked it. We've already supplied it. This tells me that you're getting all of your FECO, that it's not going somewhere else, so it's going to you. This helps me keep track of the FECO that's there, so I know I can send out 100 syringes out to a dispensary, and I'm going to know every single place that it went, and that it went to all of the cancer patients that we have on the program. As well as they all have, if you walk into any of these dispensaries, they all have an option to easily let you leave that day with a syringe. So they would just input a little bit and tell them to expect an email, and then it allows them to leave with a syringe that day, and then we collect the rest of the information. So let me go ahead and do a stop share on that. So that's kind of how, Jeremy, that's the first time you've seen that.
Yeah, that's amazing.
What is it like to see the reservation process on that end?
That is amazing. I can't tell you how many times I've dreamt of having a tool like that, and to see it in action is mind blowing.
Yeah. We heard. So I mean, I do not want to discredit anything that Operation Zero did before, because what was it, like 20,000 syringes that you were?
Yeah, I don't have an exact number. I just remember the whenever we crossed the threshold into the six-figure donation mark, I remember we had a big celebration over that. It was we did a lot, but it was still in its infancy in terms of its effectiveness and how we could really make an impact in people's lives. It really wasn't concentrated enough to help anyone to the extent that it is now.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, it was helping.
It was helping a lot of people, but it wasn't. It was too wide. There was a lot of issues, just stemming from the fact that we hadn't invested enough in the logistical side of it. And that's not to say, don't ever let being unprepared stop you from doing something.
Yeah.
And that was my main philosophy in this whole industry, was that I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it. And I'm not going to let being unprepared stop me. But yeah, there's been so much growth between there and here. And I'm just so proud and so impressed with what this organization is like now.
Yep. So this is this for me has been one of the, I'm gonna say, one of the worst and one of the best experiences ever, all in the same.
Yeah.
The level of defeat that I have felt trying to get this going, I can't even imagine what you were feeling at sometimes, because I remember especially after I heard, your doors are closing, you're feeling, kind of that empty feeling of it not going again. But I was also feeling that. I was also feeling it, and I didn't know how to make it happen, and I was feeling defeated, and I kept trying and kept trying and kept trying. Different things didn't work out, and then when we finally got to gym, I was like, I understand now why things didn't work out. I understand why I was in
it was perfect.
Still, yeah, it was perfect. Yeah,
serendipitous.
We couldn't have asked for a better.
The timeline, everything just fell. I mean, I know that in the moment it probably felt like it was a lot of fighting uphill, but man, the timeline of how everything came together with Taylor's lab and with Jim and you, and it just fell. It could not have happened more perfectly in my in my opinion.
Yeah. Another lab that we have that doesn't get enough credit for what they do for us is Dauntless. Dauntless has, has been helping with the supply of FECO quite often.
Nice.
I absolutely, we'll get into that a little bit later. That is a connection from my partner Justin Lowry made on my commercial line. So shout out to him too. And I'll go through like that relationship. But they're another one that deserves a shout out and kind of credit in this industry for what they're doing to help. I mean, there's a lot of people that deserve a shout out, but specifically with the Operation Zero
inevitably
program.
going to miss people. I mean, there's just so many people in the state that have contributed to this. There's so many dispensaries and so many growers, and there's honestly my biggest regret is that there's not a way to give credit to everybody who deserves it. But I don't think that, I think that 98% of people don't care about that. I mean, most of the people who were involved, didn't care where it was going, as long as it was getting into the hands of a cancer patient. A lot of the growers, yeah, sure, they would like a little bit, or a lot of the dispensaries, sure, they would like a little bit to run through their store, but most of them, just as long as it's going to serve the cause and get medicine to cancer patients, people have been incredibly generous, and I couldn't even begin to write a list of the people who've contributed to this.
Yes, I started to. I kind of dove back into the old files and was looking, and I started to, and I was like, man, this has just been the amount of hearts that we've connected to on this project has blown me away. And we need that, because on the back end of this is incredibly hard. You are trying your best to stay positive with people who are truly terrified. And they are looking for answers, for help, for somebody to listen and somebody to care.
And it's tough. I said that most people, really didn't care. It's always the loudest ones that make problems. There's been times that people were like, I was only able to get 15 syringes, and and it breaks your heart, because you know that you're never going to be able to provide as much as this state needs.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's just something that you have to know going into this, that you're never going to be able to fill the need.
As we get ready to sync out to our next guest, is the humbleness that Jeremy exhibits, that it reminds me of the butterfly effect and how tiny changes massively impact outcomes. And certainly you've done a tremendous job at getting it going, getting it off the launch pad, which is really, it might be the hardest of them all. So shout out to you, Jeremy, and your continued support. As you can see,
thank you, Larry. It means a lot.
Watching cartoons instead, but no, you're here. So that's,
hey, I can multitask.
Yeah.
I just want to add in and say thank you to Jeremy. It means a whole lot to me that you're here. Your continued support through this means the world to me. There's not many people that I'm going to say this, and I don't really care how it sounds. I'm not here to compete with anybody, and I could care too less what anybody's opinions are of me most of the time. I'm going to do what I'm going to do, and I'm going to continue pushing through whether or not anybody thinks this is a good idea or bad idea, and there's nobody's going to stop me. But with that said, there are a handful of people that I look to get my "you're doing okay" or "you're on the right track." And Jeremy, you are one of those. So you
are doing okay, and you are on the right track. I just I am so thrilled that the program is evolved the way that it has, and that it's in the hands that it is.
Thank you.